Hey guys, welcome back to the Charismatic Nerd. So today we're gonna have another corny discussion on the art of war, and more specifically on chapter 1 of the art of war called Making of Plans. Now, this whole aspect of making of plans in the art of war is all about making preparations before going to war. Obviously, right? But the thing is, it's actually quite a big deal. It's chapter 1 for a reason in the art of war. And when you think about it in our day-to-day lives, how often do you prepare for our human interactions? And when I mean human interactions, I mean whether, how do we prepare ourselves for being more social? How do we prepare ourselves for dating? How do we prepare ourselves for our career, etc.? And when you think about it, a lot of us actually don't. What we do is we just blindly go into the world, engage with it, get hurt, and we keep trying and trying, but we keep getting hurt and failing, and then we wonder, what is it? What's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? Am I not good enough? When in reality, there's nothing wrong with you. It's a sense that you didn't prepare yourself properly before engaging with the world. And I think one of the things that's quite difficult to understand is how cruel, chaotic, and random that life can be. It can devour you and spit you out. And when you look at the art of war in chapter 1, they know war is a very grievous affair. It's dangerous, and it can destroy peoples and empires. And that's why there's such a strong emphasis on making preparations. And when I was reading chapter 1, it just dawned on me how many times I just went into so many things blindly and not really preparing myself to deal with life. Because let's be honest, for us dorks and nerds, we did pretty good in school. We got our honors, our straight A's, and all that. And then we go to university. It's a little more difficult, but we do okay. And then we go into the workforce, and then we realize that we are so ill prepared for it. So ill prepared for just life outside of school in general. And we realize that there's like an emotional aspect, sexual aspect, career aspect, so many different types of aspects of life that we're not ready for. And then it just feels like a huge burden. It feels like we're not good enough, and we just find, then we say this corny saying where adulting is hard. So that's what I want to talk about in this video, where how to prepare yourself for life. And obviously I'm not going to go too in depth because there's like a million things we can discuss, but what I'm going to do first is read a passage from chapter 1 of the art of war, and then I'm just going to focus on one aspect of that passage that's going to help you prepare a little bit more for whatever life throws at you. Master Sun said, "War is a grave affair of state. It is a place of life and death, a road to survival and extinction, a matter to be pondered carefully. There are 5 fundamentals for this deliberation, for the making of comparisons and the assessing of conditions: the way, heaven, earth, command, discipline. The way causes men to be of one mind with their rulers, to live or die with them, and never to waver." So obviously what I'm going to talk about is the way. And before any of these art of war dorks and nerds come at me, I just want to say explicitly, I don't know what the way is, or I don't know if I can ever explain it perfectly. Alright? Because they say if anyone can describe the way, that is not the way. And I believe that 100%. That being said, all I can really do is really discuss that essence of the way, or maybe a whiff of it, just that tiny part of it that makes a little bit sense. So the way for you and me, and all human beings, is being fully integrated as an individual. And when I say that is, there's so many parts to you. So many. I know I mentioned it in so many videos, but emotionally, spiritually, physically, sexually, etc. I can't think of any more, but you get the idea. And the thing is, when you're fully integrated, when you integrate all those aspects of yourself, it's synergy. You become more than the sum of the parts. And that's like an essence of the way. Now, the reason why I'm talking about the way and why it's applicable in your life is that you need to learn to be fully integrated. You need to look at what are the areas that you're lacking? Is it sexually? Is it emotionally? You really take a step back and think, where is it that you're lacking? And then make an emphasis to rectify that situation. Because when you're fully integrated, you're naturally a well-rounded individual. And when you're a well-rounded individual, you can take on life. You have to understand this. Life is dynamic. Life is cruel. Life can come at you in so many different ways. And instead of wishing for an easier life, which will never happen, but instead of wishing for an easier life, how can you grow more as an individual so that you can take on the challenges that come your way? It's a very simple concept, but it's very difficult for a lot of people to get. Like for example, dating. Everyone talks about how hard dating is in the West. It's girls are difficult to talk to. Guys are not mature. There's a bajillion reasons why dating is so hard. But the thing is, you have to ask yourself, are you comfortable with your sexuality? Do you express your sexuality in ways that don't involve sex? You have to ask yourself these hard questions where you have to give us a dose of self-honesty. Or say another example is not letting your emotions and feelings bog you down. You know, I find, at least from my experience, but also with a lot of other people, that they feel like their emotions get in their way of day-to-day living, where they wish they didn't feel as much. And that's such a foolish thing to wish for. And that just shows that's emotional immaturity. Your emotions are always going to be a part of you. So in those cases, you learn, okay, how can I process my emotions? How can I integrate my emotions into me? Again, I don't want to be talking in circles, but the whole point is that you need to learn to integrate all aspects of yourself together. And when you do that, you become so much more than you could have ever imagined. You'll be so much more mature than the average individual. Now, the biggest question is, how do we become that fully integrated person so that we can become well-rounded? And again, that's the case where you need to take a step back and just do a lot of self-reflection. But in this case, I'll give you a few ideas, all right? All right, so for the sexual aspect of your life, on learning how to express yourself sexually and just finding sexual outlets that don't involve sex, the first thing is go on NoFap and abstain from porn, period. And again, I know I talk about NoFap quite a bit, but it's not the end all be all. But the whole point is to learn that when you go on NoFap, it's not a matter of just like retaining, but it's a matter of, again, cultivating that sexual energy and infusing it into your life, putting it into your hobbies, using that energy just to be more exciting and be more enthusiastic. Because a lot of guys, they jerk off every day, watch porn way too frequently, and they just have a certain dullness to them, where the way they carry themselves, the way they walk, the way they interact is just so pathetic. And I can say that because I was that person. When I look at myself before NoFap, I was dull, soft, timid. And when I went onto NoFap, parts of me that I didn't even know existed just came out. And it was because I was using my sexual energy to live life. So in that aspect, the sexual aspect of your life, go on NoFap. That being said, but use that sexual energy for your hobbies, for your social life, just for living life in general. And trust me, sooner or later, especially when you correct all the other aspects of your life, dating will be a natural byproduct of your life. All right? So let's go on to the next one, which is... All right, so another aspect we want to discuss is the mental and emotional aspect. In those cases, if you just find yourself where your emotions overwhelm you, or you just have too many insecurities and you live in your head way too much, then go see a therapist. It's as simple as that. Now, I know therapists cost money and all that, but like I said, you are your most valuable resource, period. And if you're not willing to invest in yourself, then stop watching this video or just unsubscribe. Because the whole point, like my whole channel, is to make you realize that you are your most valuable asset and you have to invest in yourself. You need to tweak yourself and just refine yourself so that you'll be able to take on life. Because like I keep saying, life is gonna kick you in the dick. It's gonna sucker punch you. But it's better to get sucker punched when you can take it instead of being ill prepared and then just going into the fetal position and crying. No, like if you're on my channel, it's because you know you can be better. So one thing you need to keep in mind is that if you need to be more emotionally mature and more mentally healthy, then go find a therapist. Honestly, even if you go see a therapist once a month, that's more progress than putting off therapy for the rest of your life. Because trust me, and you're gonna see this, a lot of people, they're just, a lot of people are just overgrown adolescents. A lot of people don't reach that maturity well into adulthood or ever. And then they look back and wonder why they didn't achieve X, Y, and Z. Why don't they have better friends? Why don't they have a better dating life? Why they're not more than they can be. And I was that person too. Before therapy, I was like, I was like charismatic, chill, like I read books, I worked out. I didn't know what was missing. And what was missing was that I wasn't in the right mental space and I was emotionally immature. But then when I went through therapy and resolved my internal issues, I just blossomed into a different person. A person that I could have never imagined, a person that I'm proud of. So again, if you just find yourself not mentally there and emotionally immature, invest in yourself and go see a therapist. You know, it's like the art of war, man. Like if you're not preparing yourself, then you're setting yourself up for failure, right? All right, so let's get to the next aspect to be fully integrated. And this aspect is pretty obvious, corny, simple, mentioned way too much, but it's the physical aspect of yourself. And in that case, go work out. Go find a physical hobby that you like, and then go do it and be consistent. Honestly, you have no excuse to be too out of shape. I'm not saying to be ripped or extremely fit. You know, for me, for boxing, I honestly only have 2 rounds in me. That's it. And I don't care to go past those 2 rounds. All right, that's just me. So if any of you guys want to challenge me, past round 2, that's when I go downhill. So you can train. But anyways, I digress. The whole point is, yeah, you gotta be physically fit. You never know when it's not even trying to be more attractive, sexy. It's just, you want to make sure you take care of yourself physically. Simple as that. All right, so I'm not gonna go too much into this because I think it's self-explanatory. And the last aspect for being fully integrated that I'm gonna discuss is the social aspect, making sure that you have great social skills and understand the social nuances. And the way you do that is just being social every day, just a little bit, whether it's holding eye contact with someone, saying hello, starting a conversation. And on top of all that, just making sure you're strengthening the friendships that you have right now, where you're listening, being vulnerable, and just being understanding. Because I'll tell you this, guys, so I'm pretty sure you've heard this a bajillion times, but social skills have kind of went down in the dumpsters. It just seems so painfully true. I hate that so many people say that, but most people that say it, they don't work on their social skills. So don't be that type of person. So be social. You know, take an interest in other people. Work on your listening skills. Work on your conversation skills. There's so many ways you can do that. And trust me, once you're like socially nuanced, it's easy. You're always gonna stand out whenever you engage with someone. All right, so that's pretty much it. So again, this is not like the complete list, guys, for being fully integrated, but that's like a solid foundation where you could start that as soon as possible. And you have to understand that when you're fully integrated, like I said, you become well-rounded. And when you're well-rounded, you're able to embrace all the challenges that life throws at you. But in more particular, when I think there's one hidden aspect that a lot of people don't mention or don't understand, that when you're fully integrated as an individual, you understand yourself much better as a human being. And when you understand yourself more as a human being, you naturally understand everyone else as a human being. I think a lot of the issues that when people ignore certain aspects of themselves, it's a bit dehumanizing. So when they're out there thinking, oh man, I don't understand why she does this, or I don't understand why he's like that, it's because you don't understand those parts of yourself. It's really simple. You have to understand this, that to a certain extent, life is a mirror of how you view yourself, right? And if you're suppressing one aspect of yourself, then that one aspect is gonna seem like a Rubik's Cube in the real world. Like, it's gonna be so hard to figure out. So that's why it's so crucial in realizing that you need to work on yourself and should fully integrate all aspects so that when you go into life, you can embrace it. You can enjoy the highs, accept the lows, and then just go through the entire journey of life like that. And even on top of all that, I think one of the greatest things you can have when you're fully integrated individuals is understanding the nuances of human nature and seeing your opportunities. I'm not gonna go too much detail because this video is way too long already. But the thing is that when you're fully integrated, you're gonna see the subtleties of life. You're gonna see where it is that you can seize your opportunities, seize your advantages. All right? It's hard to explain, but maybe I'll say that for another video. But first things first, like chapter 1 of The Art of War, prepare yourself. Do whatever it is needed to take care of yourself, to refine yourself, to perfect yourself, to go out in the world. Now keep this in mind, I'm not saying to be perfect. That's not what I'm saying, guys. But what I'm saying is work on yourself that you'll be prepared enough. All right, huge difference. Because I don't want to send out the wrong message where you think you need to be perfect in this before you engage with life. That's not what I'm saying. Because even in The Art of War, Sun Tzu says you have to look at your strengths and weaknesses, and then based off those calculations, determine whether you go to war. All right, because at the end of the day, no matter what, there's always going to be some areas that you lack. But again, it's your responsibility in making sure that those areas are not too lacking where it's a hindrance. All right? So again, not saying to be perfect, but to be prepared enough to take on life. That's the main message I want you to take away from this Art of War video, okay? I know it's not one of those sexy Art of War videos where they have these corny strategies, but I want you to understand that, the corny analogy, but life is like warfare. And it's not in the sense where you're trying to have conflict with people. That's just how life is. Life is a challenge. Life is hard. Life is suffering. However, instead of being timid and shying away from that fact, you can prepare for it. And when you do that, you're going to be surprised with what life will give you. All right? So, because I'm telling you guys, if you're on this channel, it's because you know you can do something more. And I'm not here to give corny advice, motivation. That's not. Life is tragic. Life will break your heart. However, if you're prepared for it, you'll learn so much more from it. All right? So anyway, guys, that's it. I'm gonna stop talking because I'm gonna keep blabbing and blabbing and blabbing. All right? So like always, please like this video, comment, subscribe to my channel, subscribe to my newsletter, hit that notifications icon, share this video. And guys, remember, you're not just any type of nerd. You're a charismatic nerd.